Welcome to Head Biotech's live stream. It's the founder's speech about some recent very important events for Head Biotech. I mean, important for Head Biotech, but if you're not interested, and I will also remind that Head Biotech is non-profit, so it's not like, I think this should be, I mean, if there is one company in the world that all people on the world should have interested in, it's Head Biotech. So I will just now read the statement, which is also now on Medium, and yeah, it's on Medium, so you can read it, and it's also on Scribd, so you can download it as a PDF file for printout or whatever. So I realized that this is probably more, it's more dramatic for me than for you out there, but I must remind you that I am the so-called expert now. So if there are anyone that sees some development in Head Biotech first, it's me. So anyway, here we go. And it will take about 50 minutes. So I'm sorry, I know I said 30 minutes before, but you know how these things are, the prompter and stuff, and the speed of the prompter. So I figured out that after I adjusted the speed on the prompter, the speech will end on 50 minutes. And I will probably also put this speech up on Buzzsprout as a RSS, as an audio file. So, but I understand this is for special interest. This is just it's going to be boring if you're not interested in this topic now. Okay. So then I'm just going to adjust the camera. So yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go, and I will, during the speech, I will take 2 or 3 short breaks where I get myself a cup of coffee or something, like after every 20 minutes, every 15 minutes or so. And just remember that the reason for I'm doing this, much of it is just to make an additional source of information from me and Head Biotech, so that I'm not accused of being a AI boot from North Korea, which actually is true. That someone on Reddit, when I debate, they sort of accuse me that this is just an AI boot and this is just fake and all this. So I really feel at least there is a source. There is if someone is in doubt, I can refer to this speech live streamed. Yeah, I'm not going to waste much of your precious time on this Saturday evening if you're in Norway. So here I go. And I will now sort of transform over to this official role, okay? I'm just going to read and just try to communicate as best as I can. Official statement from Head Biotech, June 2026. June 13th. Today is the June 13th, 2026. Dear online followers of Head Biotech, I welcome you all to this announcement on June 13th, 2026. I can understand that some of you may not immediately see why this announcement is important to Head Biotech. Especially those of you who are not familiar with what Head Biotech and my theories are all about. However, there is no doubt in my mind that the recent developments of the last year, and especially the last 3 weeks, have made it necessary for me to defend Head Biotech and what I consider to be my life's work. The situation we are now in is, with a noticeable probability, one of the key moments in Head Biotech's now nearly 20-year history in 2029. And if I'm correct, this is also a key moment in the development of life on Earth in its 4.5 billion years of evolution. Namely, that 2 different life forms in the universe are about to meet each other. There is no way I can describe the ongoing situation in a comprehensible way if you are not already informed about Head Biotech and my theories. Still, I will present the situation as vividly as I can without touching on the details. First, tonight, I will give a short presentation of Head Biotech and the theories that make up the backbone of Head Biotech. Secondly, I will address the potential ongoing sabotage situation, which I suspect could have been done to undermine the approach theory and Head Biotech. Thirdly, I will comment shortly on the recent 2 incidents that have taken place after the podcast experiment ended on the April 11th. Namely, the explosion of the New Glenn rocket providing infrastructure to the moon base and the new incoming interstellar object, Polar IM, on April the 1st, the same day of Artemis II launch. At the very end tonight, I will bring up the more distant topic in the approach theory, which I now believe has become relevant, more relevant. With distant parts of the theory, I'm referring to the final landing phase of the approach. I believe it's time from now on to also address a potential landing, and I welcome the viewers to join in on the speculation. This is because I am now more certain that the signals perhaps won't stop, but only continue to grow in strength as the incoming life form, the incoming Fermi life form, comes closer to Earth. If the scientific community joins in on the approach theory, when further and even stronger signals are received and sent by the Fermi life forms, we will probably be able to pinpoint the date of the Fermi life form's physical arrival rather accurately. The main reason for this broadcast is to protect Head Biotech from what I suspect could be a potential hacker attack in order to undermine the approach theory's credibility. The proposed attack seemed to have pinpointed its focus on the most central point of what potentially connects Head Biotech with the incoming Fermi lifeform, via one-eye Oumuamua. For those unfamiliar with my work, Head Biotech is an independent, non-profit research organization which I founded in Norway back in 2009 after graduation. I want to repeat once again that I will never ask ordinary people, your viewers, for money through donation buttons, buy me a coffee, or similar appeals. As I see it, for ordinary people, Head Biotech exists only to serve you well, and potentially to demonstrate the incredible vision that life forms on planet Earth have a natural place in a future eternal paradise state. But on the financial side, I am looking at so-called impact investors who want to help enhance this potential paradise vision for Earth on their own choosing. To put it simply, it is important to me not to sell tickets to paradise in any way. I am supposed to be here at your service. To the machine, the paradise machine, the only real currency is the intention behind our actions. I actually see a future where we move away from money as the main currency and toward what I call paradise points. Points that can only be earned through your genuine intentions and actions. But that's a story for another time. I don't forbid the use of money in the workings of Head Biotech. Don't misunderstand me. And the theory is positive to free flow of money to be exchanged voluntarily between humans for services we can offer each other. Let's go into a restaurant. You pay money, you get good food, and you choose if you go in or out, right? But we'll never suggest or imply that anyone are forced to pay money in order to position themselves in the future paradise machine. If you are looking to position yourself, I advise you to focus on cultivating your true intentions to your surroundings, as they are the only currency that truly counts for the paradise machine. At least never get the impression that you need to pay money or do any other services to Head Biotech, such as pressing the like button and so on. And to be frankly, we shouldn't need to change much about ourselves in order to get access to the paradise state. In many ways, as I see it, as I know this theory, we are already there. And meant to be there. And in particular, the children, which the theory can guarantee 100% protection by the paradise machine, no matter the circumstances. They are the safest in this situation now. In many ways, you can see it as that's why the Fermi lifeform come to Earth in the first place, because the signal for zero-risk strategies illustrate how extremely sensitive the paradise machine seems to be in order to guard the children of the world. As the signal probably is a hint that the children of the world one day in the future can be endangered. On that note, I also want to underline that I do not see myself as a messiah or anything like that. I'm simply an educated biologist who got lucky with a biological experiment I designed back in 2002. And please never feel that you have to like me as a person either. As a matter of fact, the irony, the reason behind the success of generating the zero-risk signal back in 2002 was just that my strongest side is not the social one, to put it mildly. And the theory predicts that the Fermi life form would have started this approach with or without me. As this approach process in the Paradise Machine model is part of nature's design from scratch, from the beginning of the universe. I just happened to see the potential for such a mechanism in nature back in 2002, and I constructed an experiment in order to trigger what I saw as a potential mechanism in nature based on my biology knowledge. I do not have time to go through the details in my work now, which work is best covered by its formal name, the fourth law of thermodynamics. The theory is covered in detail over 7 articles available on headbiotech.com, written from 2010 to 2025. But if you read the last one, you read the last one if you're curious. And now, in the speech, I would like to focus on the real reason for this announcement. The 4th article was published in 2024. In that article, the approach theory and the Paradise Machine model were launched for the first time. In short, these theoretical frameworks seek to explain how an advanced Fermi life form on extraterrestrial intelligence might approach Earth now and communicate their approach through structured signals, in which interstellar objects entering our solar system from outside our solar system play a major role. My strategy for proving the approach theory and the Paradise model has not been easy. Since the 2024 article, I sort of predicted the incoming 3i atlas last summer. So that's when I really got my first, I saw this pattern. The way I can do this is to use the theory to predict something before they happen, because that will confirm that the approach theory must be true. So this method of me working now, in order to lower the p-values, the probability values for the predicted events to be random if it's matched. When these probability values are getting very low, this will be a mathematical method to eventually prove that the signals must contain information from outside our solar system. And I'm very much inspired by Bell there in how he simplified the proof by using mathematics. It's very simple. An example of this method was the recent prediction of a NASA curse, documented now in the so-called 45 podcast experiment earlier this year. The point with this recent podcast experiment was that if the approach theory is true, NASA's tampering and withholding with one of the Fermi life form's important signaling objects, according to the theory, 3i atlas last fall, should be very troublesome to the Fermi life forms, the incoming Fermi life forms, in the context of the Paradise Machine model. Therefore, when NASA lost contact with their MAVEN probe circling Mars or orbiting Mars a very short time after this, I immediately saw the potential for an upcoming curse, that the Maven probe was only the beginning in a chain of future hostile events in disfavor of NASA or whomever was behind the isolation of the Tri-Ice data. Such a prediction of the near future would indicate that the approach was real. The reasoning for making the 45 podcast was to document, in case the prediction and the events that followed was a match. So I wanted to document the experiment. And those of you who followed the whole process now know, as I know, that the results were what I would call shocking. I now also suspect that others in the SETI-related community around the world have seen the same results and might have motivated them to wanted to weaken the approach theory. To be honest, I see this attack as a tremendously successful development for Head Biotech. Just that the approval this time comes in the form of, for example, industry sabotage, and not in the form of a traditional reward. According to the approach theory from 2024, one-eye Oumuamua was the first really strong signal during the life form's approach toward Earth. So Oumuamua was the first interstellar object humans detected. So that was the first hint that triggered the development of the approach theory back in 2024. In my mini article 1, I suggest that the Fermi life form use both structure and timing of the features of the interstellar objects as they did with Oumuamua. So the third interstellar object, Tri Atlas, came. It behaved very similar to what one would expect from the incoming life form, according to the approach theory. And that was after the 1 year after I developed the approach theory. So at the end of 2025, I realized that the only way to prove that an incoming life form indeed was on their way to Earth and sent signals about their approach was to set up experiments to prove it. The method was to first document the prediction of future events that should be related to the paradise machine model and the approach theory as detailed as possible. I mean, it's a limit to how specific I can be in the predictions. For example, certain behaviors of the next signal according to the fundamental theories, as in mini article 2. If those documented predictions will match future events, it would serve as a mathematical proof, a simple mathematical proof that there was indeed meaningful information in the signals, stemming from an intelligent approach as described in the original 2024 article. So I wrote an article, the mini article 2, about 6 months ago, in which I predict the behavior of the next incoming big interstellar event for the next signaling burst in the time window 2029 to 2032, based on the logics in the approach theory. Then in January this year, I conducted a similar experiment with a podcast that followed NASA's Artemis 2 mission to the moon. This recent experiment with the podcast produced very interesting and what I would call shocking results. This recent podcast experiment predicted a so-called NASA curse. A NASA curse, and more specifically, for example, that Artemis 2 rocket would explode going to the moon. The shocking results from the recent experiment, which the viewer you can judge yourself, have now been followed by a new and a surprising development the last 3 weeks. That is, I now suspect also that the recent shocking results from the podcast experiment has drawn attention to Head Biotech from not so friendly places. Not from ordinary people online interested in safety issues, but now also from more heavy institutions or resourceful networks that see the approach theory as a potential threat. And I do understand them. This is a new situation for Head Biotech. My intention is to address these events openly and transparently and to document concerns regarding what appears to be the alteration of historical online material connected to Head Biotech. One of the events presented in the 2024 article could connect the incoming interstellar object, Oumuamua, directly to Head Biotech's name and thereby its content with very low p-value. The ideas to the third article, and this is the second thing, the ideas to the third article in the article series, which launched the idea that a zero-risk stress signal was generated in nature to spread instantaneously throughout the universe via the quantum world, came in the same weeks as Oumuamua silently entered our inner solar system, before we detected it. More specifically, on June 18, 2017, which also is documented on this same Facebook account via timestamp of this post I made about this idea. Once more, I do not have time to go through the details in this, but I refer to headbiotech.com and the article series on the fourth law. While I was working on the third article in 2017, while living outside of Norway, more specifically in the great and proud nation of Ireland in 2017, my Facebook account had the name Björn Olsen with a Swedish Ö. I had this account for about 4 years while I was living abroad, but when I moved back to Norway, I changed phone, email address, etc., and forgot much about that old Facebook account I had while I was living in Ireland. But all of my work regarding Head Biotech during those years, approximately between 2014 and 2018, was preserved on this old Facebook account, which I later did not have access to anymore. However, during the work in 2024 back in Norway, on my article on the Paradise Machine model, it showed that critical timestamps, electronic timestamps, which proved a potential connection between the incoming Fermi lifeform and Head Biotech, were located on this old account, this old Facebook account. So I will take a small break now, and I have my cup of coffee here, and I'm just gonna play the intro again. I fetch myself a cup of coffee, and it's been almost half an hour now. So the next part of the speech will be soon. Let's say 5 minutes. Yeah, then I welcome you back. And I will continue this announcement, so thank you for waiting. So I'm now back to October, the timestamp dated on October the 19th, 2017, on the day humanity detected the very first interstellar object in mid-air. This was the first time we detected in mid-air while they were moving. Okay, so here we go again. Yeah, so it was called Oumuamua, which means a messenger from afar in Hawaiian, because it was this detected from Hawaii. So, but unknowingly of what just happened on Hawaii, I posted a picture to this Facebook account while sitting at Hewlett-Packard's factory near Dublin in Ireland. A picture of the name Head Biotech appearing on a small LCD screen. And I'm going to show you this right now. Just so it's also in the article. This is the... So this was an electronic experiment I conducted at the factory. This is at the Hewlett factory in Dublin, on the floor there. And this is the Facebook account. This is the Facebook account, Björn Olsen. And there's my cousin liking it and one other. But these two are now gone, missing from that post. That's what I'm concerned. Or I should be concerned, and if there are some other explanation for it in the future, I still would have done this, because this is so crucial. If somebody try to undermine that proof, it will be totally crucial for Head Biotech, because it will dissolve the potential connection between the incoming Fermi life form with Head Biotech and the approach and the theories in Head Biotech. So, yeah, so at the time I forget about it completely. That post wasn't really important. However, while working on the 2024 paper back in Norway, I went back to that Facebook page to check the timestamps for when I received the ideas for the third paper describing the zero-risk signal in nature in the quantum world, as I vaguely remember it was about that time Oumuamua was detected. I wasn't sure if it was in 2018 or 2017, but when I went in and checked on that Facebook account, but I couldn't log in, but I could visit the page. So then I saw that the timestamp on that, because I posted that idea. Oh, I got this great idea that the fourth law of thermodynamics that could explain the wave particle duality in quantum mechanics. And that led me to write this third article in which I suggested that this quantum signal could also measure zero-risk strategies and send a stress signal, an alarm instantaneously across the universe, which now later I saw could have attracted a life form, an incoming life form. Yeah, attracted the incoming life form, Fermi life form, to Earth. It was very interesting, of course, when I saw that it actually was true, that perhaps this was a message from the incoming life form that tried to communicate that, hey, this is what attracted us to come to Earth, because Oumuamua was just over our heads at the moment before we detected it. It was a very wild idea, but I kept on working on to formulate a more general approach theory, which I then published in this paper that they actually started from 2005, and while they're coming closer to Earth, getting stronger and stronger signals indicating that the approaching life form was getting closer and closer to Earth over time. So while looking up and finding that the ideas were expressed in a Facebook post on June 18th in 2017, that confirmed my suspicion, and I now had this timestamp to prove. I could now document via this old Facebook account that this idea actually emerged as Oumuamua was just over our heads in the inner solar system. So, but then the surprising thing come, it was when I saw also, when I was on that Facebook page, that the LCD screen showed the name Head Biotech, and I posted it, and I saw it was on October 19, 2017. And I quickly drew the conclusion that the chance of this coincidence was extremely slim, because I can't remember to have taken a picture of Head Biotech before or after 2009. So that one day, between 2009 and 2024, I took a picture of Head Biotech, was on the very same day we detected Oumuamua, the first interstellar object. That's very interesting. The chance is like, you can calculate it yourself. So as the evidence for the approach signals still continue to grow after the 2024 article with 3i Atlas, this next interstellar object, or the third one, and in particular after the recent shocking results from the podcast experiment this year, this old connection between Oumuamua and Head Biotech, and thereby the article series on the theory via the timestamp has skyrocketed. Fortunately, that one day I uploaded the one picture I have ever taken by the name Head Biotech onto Facebook, which produced this electronic timestamp that was then stored on that old Facebook account from 2017. Since Oumuamua was detected from Hawaii. So that LCD post of named Head Biotech got 2 likes from a close friend and a family member. But these 2 likes have now recently been removed from the post. And I see this tampering with that post together with the new shocking results from the last experiment. In connection, what I now suspect is some kind of sabotage, perhaps industrial sabotage, as the implications of the approach theory would be huge for many aspects of life on Earth. I mean, this is totally wild, crazy stuff, but now the results are ticking in now. So purely economical for some, and perhaps politically for others. For example, a further strong statistical anomaly that supports the approach theory via this crucial timestamp connecting Head Biotech to the incoming life form would lower interest in rocket-propelled space exploration starts, for example, potentially costing billions of dollars. Imagine, for example, SpaceX, if these results start to come in, people start thinking, hey, do we really need rocket propulsion if these Fermi life forms, if we can start proving that this Fermi life form is approaching Earth, why do we build rockets to go to Mars in 100 years when we can potentially go to the center of the galaxy in 20 years? I mean, just to create the suspicion would probably affect the SpaceX value, like pretty much, I think. I think we are talking of cost billions of dollars here. So, and I'm certain that there are many other different motivating factors out there. That would have a big problem if the approach theory should receive serious attention. to be short then, in summary, what I suspect is that someone with the skills to hack into that old Facebook account has removed the 2 likes from the post in order to replace the original post with a new fake post, thereby producing a fake post, still showing the timestamp October 19, 2017. It's still there, but it's now a fake one. So this would ensure that a future investigation, if the theory continues to grow in strength, would conclude that the post was artificially created. And then it will drop. Then Head Biotech will be hurt by this. I see this as a potentially sophisticated way of undermining the value of Head Biotech. But I take it as a compliment as well, more than I'm sad about it. But it is important that I address this now as soon as I discovered it and document this issue as soon as possible. The last days, I also noticed another significant tampering with this same old Facebook account. It's not that crucial, but it's sort of interesting. Because I have not been logged into this account since 2018. I can just visit the page and see what's going on, but it's always been the same until now. And this other alteration was the post I made earlier in 2016 that I was placed on this list with the title, The 20 World's Most Idiotic Scientists, by the thermodynamic community. And I was on this list. It has also disappeared from the account, which I commented on this list, that I was on this list. And I complained about it. My comment to this list was that they didn't understand my theory. But this has now also disappeared from the account. So this list was published in the thermodynamic community, and it made fun of scientists around the world who were considered idiotic or totally wrong in their theories. And I was on that list with pictures and everything, full name and everything. So I was placed in the 16th place on this list with my full name, picture, and a short explanation for being on the list. I posted then a screenshot of this list on my Facebook account back in 2016 to defend my theory, as I immediately saw that those who had placed me on that list clearly had not taken a deep dive into my work. Then I had published 2 articles at this stage. However, this post has recently also been, it has been totally been removed from the same old Facebook account. As I see it, that tampering could also be related to the recent shocking results in the recent podcast experiment. And probably due to damage control in case the signals continue to grow stronger in the future. But the absolute most crucial tampering for Head Biotech is the timestamp from 19 October 2017. So I will now take a short break again and come back in a couple of minutes. But now, this was the main message behind this speech. That's why I brought up the podcast equipment and the microphone and all this again, and I built up another studio. It was only because of this, because I had no choice. I couldn't let this, because the suspicion is that because there are so many things that happen now the last 3 weeks after these incredible results. It's shocking. I'm still in so-called shock. But now that it could be that a Head Biotech, a nothing company, having not a dollar in revenue, no emails, no interest, nothing. Only my theory has now got attention from very resourceful actors in this industry. So I'm gonna play that intro video again, and you can fetch yourself a cup of coffee or whatever you want, and I will be back in about 3 minutes. Yeah, welcome back. And now I go into the last section of the speech. So I'm pretty much finished with the most important message. But now I will just repeat the sabotage issue, as it might be confusing to some viewers, okay? I will just make a summary of what has happened. just a bit more short, but just to repeat it, so that to clear some small confusing elements to some viewers. Okay. So I start as a scratch again. So a few days ago, I discovered that an important Facebook post connected to Head Biotech from the period 2014 to 2018 appears to have been altered for the first time since 2018. The apparent changes involve at least two separate incidents. The first concerns a Facebook post I made referencing a ranking within the thermodynamic community with me in it, titled "The World's Most Idiotic Scientists," in which my name, photograph, and background information appeared as number 16 on this list. In my assessment, the apparent alteration of this material may represent an attempt at damage control, as recent evidence continues to support the approach theory and becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. As further confirmation continues, it would make those who made such a list potentially become embarrassing. So it's damage control, perhaps. The second incident is considerably more important and is the primary reason for this official statement. It's a Facebook post on this very same old account containing a photograph or a screenshot. No, a photograph of the name Head Biotech displayed on a small LCD screen, originally posted on October 19, 2017. This one. It says Head Biotech, but the purpose was the electronic experiments. I just wrote Head Biotech because it fitted with the LCD screen, so I never thought really much about it. I just want to show my experiment to some colleagues of mine at Hewlett Packard who were like pretty good in electronics and stuff. So this is the post, and it was on 19 October 2017. I got these 2 likes, which now is removed. Yeah, so that one now is also seemed to be tampered with, which is much more crucial for Head Biotech. I suspect that the reason may be related also to the recent events connected to the podcast experiment, whose result came out surprisingly strong and created increased attention surrounding its findings. Most notably, 2 likes that were originally attached to this post from 2017 have now disappeared. This removal of likes, these 2 likes from the post, weakens the evidential value of the post from October 19, 2017 as an electronic timestamp proof, linking the image of Head Biotech to the date of the detection of Oumuamua on October 19, 2017, because I have not had access to this Facebook account since 2018 and lack detailed software knowledge regarding what specifically has occurred with the post. I cannot determine the exact mechanism behind the alteration. I have to guess, but my initial concern is that the original post on October 19, 2017, from the Hewlett-Packard factory in Dublin, may have been replaced by a modified version by hackers. It's still there, but the likes have been removed, potentially allowing future investigators to argue that the timestamp was artificially constructed from the very beginning, because it is now, after the alteration. I know I have not tampered with that post, and I would not even know how to if I wanted to. The post remains still visible, and as documented in a recent video, it still displays the October 19, 2017 publication date. However, the disappearance of the 2 original likes, including one from a family member, raises important questions, because those 2 digital interactions connected the post to identifiable individuals and genuine accounts, thereby strengthening the post from 2017 value as a robust and historical electronic timestamp evidence. I have not edited, modified, or otherwise interacted with this Facebook page since 2018. My intention has always been to leave the account, that Facebook account, untouched as preserved evidence, not giving anyone the opportunity to tamper with the content by not logging into it. So I wasn't interested in getting access to that. Hence, this should be performed by clever hackers. The apparent changes recently are therefore a matter of concern to Head Biotech and constitute the primary reason for this public statement. If the timestamp is authentic, the original one, which I have no reason to believe it was not, while I took a screenshot of it with the 2 likes in 2024, and preserved correctly, it establishes a connection that is extremely highly relevant to the approach theory. Specifically, it may suggest that the incoming Fermi lifeform was directing attention toward Head Biotech at that time. Now that the evidence becomes stronger and stronger. So this connection, this incredible connection, was considered rather strong and interesting back in 2024, for me anyway, but has now grown in significance and value since the last successful experiment this last 6 months and last year. What I fear is that competition out there, serious competition, has come to the same conclusion about the recent developments with my theory, with the approach theory, and wish to undermine this crucial post connecting the incoming Fermi lifeform with Head Biotech via Oumuamua's arrival date 19 October of 2017. So now I'm done with that. Now I just briefly want to focus on the 2 recent incidents the last few weeks. So this is in relation to the podcast experiment. So but also when I first go on air, I have to address these 2 things that has happened the last 3 weeks, because it was part of the prediction. So, because the conclusion of the 45 podcast experiment was in itself showed interesting results. I'm not going into details, but after that, still 2 major developments have occurred after the podcast experiment ended on April 11, 2026. And the first one, the New Glen explosion on May 28, 2026, because much of the podcast experiment was to document a continuation of the NASA course with emphasis on a potential explosion of the Artemis 2 rocket launch on April 1, who were supporting the moon base mission to go out in space. So the New Glenn rocket suffered a major failure and exploded on May 28th, about 2 weeks ago. The rocket was intended to contribute to NASA's Artemis program as the Artemis 2 rocket was, but this rocket, by supplying NASA's moon base with infrastructure and vehicles for the crew. The explosion of the rocket, which did not cost any human life, represented a significant setback for NASA's Artemis program, as suggested would happen according to the approach theory. It was just another rocket that exploded in the Artemis program. And I specifically suggested in the podcast that the Artemis 2 rocket could explode on launch on April the 1st. However, that the rocket meant to carry infrastructure to the moon base for the Artemis mission was actually almost likely interesting or important, and sparing the brave astronauts, which according to the approach theory should not be thought of as a problem for the incoming life form. So that also fits with the theory. Because in the podcast it was a recurring term that I said, but if the rocket explodes, it will go against the theory because they will kill the brave astronauts inside of the rocket. So that the other rocket exploded without the brave astronauts inside of it would actually confirm that in that way as well. Secondly, and now perhaps the more interesting, which is totally insane. Now we are in Argentina. Here. Now pay attention here, outside of Argentina. And this is only now a couple of days ago. The discovery of a new interstellar object, polar IM. About a week ago, which is called Polar IM by Avi Loeb, was discovered an interstellar object, a new interstellar object that entered Earth's atmosphere on April the 1st, 2026, landing there. This date is notable because it coincided exactly with Head Biotech's live stream coverage of the Artemis 2 mission as part of the podcast NASA Curse experiment. We were waiting for that explosion. Hence, April the 1st, 2026 was a pivotal date for the entire podcast experiment. The podcast experiment, which had 10 episodes, but this episode 6 conducted between February, or the podcast, the 10 episodes lasted between February 7th and the last one in April 11th. But the podcast experiments was specifically designed to test the prediction derived from the approach theory in real time about the NASA curse, okay? To trying to confirm and prove the approach theory. So it was therefore considered essential to document the April 1st event of the Artemis 2 launch with a live stream that lasted for 21 hours total, as I didn't want to miss a beat of the Artemis 2 launch. We were waiting for that explosion of the rocket, of the Artemis rocket, because of the NASA curse. According to my analysis, the timing of Polar IM's atmospheric entry at exactly that day, 2:13:12 a.m. local time on April 1st, also coincided closely with my live discussions as it landed here, or entered here. In the opening statement on that live stream during the middle of the night here, I was sitting right here. It's episode 6 in the podcast, it's a summary. So then I actually talked about the possibility that the Fermi lifeform uses interstellar objects as a means of communication, as I do right now, and specifically that they use timing itself to communicate with the interstellar objects was crucial in their communication, which also was the case with Oumuamua on October 19, 2017, coincided with that post of Head Biotech. So this feature was already predicted in mini article 1, and I will now just show you a picture of that article 1. Sorry. So this is from article 1 in December last year, which I use as this timestamp because I just tried to deciphering the symbolic alphabet used by interstellar objects. That they use structure, even color with Tree Atlas, and trajectory with Tree Atlas, and then timing with Oumuamua. So now they used timing again, didn't they? By sending an interstellar object on that very moment. It was crazy. So that was just a few days ago. So A.V. Loeb from Harvard, he reported this a few days ago. And I read the article, and I'm pretty sure, because this this potential interstellar object, it will always take some time to confirm it. But I read that article, and it had a speed that surpassed the escape velocity from the solar system. So that means that it goes like twice as fast as any other object in the solar system. That means that it doesn't come from the solar system because it has a higher velocity than the escape velocity. So it will probably, if it hadn't hit Earth, if it hadn't hit here, it will probably have gone out of the solar system and continue on its journey in the galaxy. So that's how A.V. Loeb and them just concluded pretty much that, okay, this is an interstellar object. This was an interstellar object. So, of course, that from my point of view, these results represented a highly successful outcome of this experiment, this podcast experiment, because now I documented this live now even, and provided a level of specificity beyond that contained in the original 2024 article in the beginning. So this just grows and grows. Taken together, they suggest that the incoming life form may be moving closer to direct interaction with humanity as predicted. So now I hope your viewers now are able to understand why this announcement was necessary to do on such a short notice by me. And now to the very last section of this announcement, which has a title, and this is a funny one, and I mean, this one is really funny. The final phase of the approach theory, because now it's time. Now we can start to discuss. Hey, the more realistic it is that we can prove that they are approaching Earth. Now we can start discussing their landing even. It becomes more interesting to discuss the actual landing of the Fermi lifeform. because the final phase of the approach theory has so far not been given much attention. This since proving the approach itself is of most essence, because I haven't really proved it. But now, maybe I have. So, however, due to the recent shocking results the last weeks and the last year and the last 6 months, I suggest it is time for Head Biotech to start looking forward and for the first time start to focus more on a potential landing scenario. Given these recent developments, it may now be appropriate to examine more seriously what the approach theory describes as a potential physical landing or direct meeting with this incoming Fermi life form. Now it's much more realistic. With sufficient resources and analysis, it may be possible to estimate an early stage, a more precise time frame for such a landing event. I just want to briefly mention some core principles in such a landing that we can expect to happen based on my insight into the theory. It's just a few facts that probably is very realistic to expect if they land. So the principles are, there are 3 principles here. I just want to mention them. First, the visitors may appear in a human-like and feminine form in order to reduce stress and increase familiarity, and also because they should have this female nature, which is discussed throughout the last articles since 2024, because of the woman baby idea. The Fermi life form with 100% intelligent and love should be have a female nature. Like, they are not women, but they are on a mathematical form, but they still they are grown out of that female role, protecting the babies and protecting the children. And the second one, they may arrive in traditionally described disc-shaped craft for the same reason which we are used to watch on TV and stuff. Just to make the encounter or their approach to Earth less alarming, because they want us no harm. So if we see a disc-shaped thing, we will, oh, we have seen that 100 and 1,000 times before. So I just assume that they will probably come in something we feel most comfortable with. And contact would occur only when conditions are considered completely safe from their perspective, as the Fermi life form must obey the zero-risk argument in the Paradise Machine's design, meaning they can't land before they need to obey the zero-risk argument in the design of the Paradise Machine. That means that they can't take one step closer to Earth before they always need to have a dominant zero-risk position relative to us. So the day they land, it's completely safe for them to land. And the last point, it's about the children again. I don't want to scare any children with this. So children and all animal life forms on Earth, based on the theory, then with emphasis on the human children, because they occupy the highest protected position within the Paradise Machine framework. So I just want to repeat that as often as I can, that children in particular are regarded as completely safe and permanently protected under the machine model. So why I'm saying this is that no children should need to worry about such an event. This is the best, you are the safest. You're the reason why they come even. They will go through hell for you. rather, yeah, so you should actually, you should look forward to this, just according to the theory. If they come, then you shouldn't be scared, you should be happy, right? But anyway, this landing could be as far as away as 50 to 100 years in the future. But, well, that is what we could be able now to calculate, the stronger the mathematical signals get, so we can start to actually pinpoint when they arrive here. So, finally, the closing remarks. When I first on air, I just want to, because I'm not planning to do any more shows, so to speak, before 2029 and 2032 window, the time, because that's the next, I predict that the next signaling burst will come in that time window. So I plan to stay back until 2029, 2030. So I just want to make these closing remarks as I draw back for a very good while, for some years now. And the closing remarks is that I would like to thank everyone who has allowed me to express and discuss these ideas openly since 2009. I am also grateful to the Norwegian authorities and the broader society in Norway that has enabled me to pursue independent research through Head Biotech without interference. Even though many aspects of the theory speak very much against the Norwegian society, and in particular the Norwegian government, but I would like to repeat that it is the thermodynamic context that is the prime mover to this critic, and not to blame the general Norwegian population, which from my experience are warm and kind, on the whole. So, but I still claim that the zero risk signal was probably triggered from Norway, but not because the population are so evil, but because of the thermodynamic context. So, but the details are in the article. I haven't time to go through that now. So, and finally, thank you also for your attention, and continued interest from followers abroad online. Ted and Chris, and there are some people out there that we are there. There is a small community online which are interested in this. There are a few of us, but we are digging and trying to figure out if there are some aliens coming or whatever. So if the approach theory ultimately proves correct, the implications would be extraordinary. Such an event could represent one of the most significant developments in the history of life on Earth. I also extend my thanks to all individuals whose actions, discussions, and interactions contributed, directly or indirectly, to the development of these ideas. It is important to remember that much of the theory stems from observation, not only in the animal kingdom, in biology books and scientific books, but also from fellow human beings on planet Earth. You, and the animals as well, but there is still no doubt, in my mind, the vast majority of Earth's population should, according to the Paradise Machine model, be destined for a place somewhere in the Paradise state. However, I must bear my responsibility not to judge, but instead focus on informing, so to give everybody a fair chance to adapt. But it's up to you. And finally, a greeting to all humans, no matter where on Earth you are right now, And may you enjoy your paradise state so that the principle of justice in the paradise machine is fulfilled. So thank you for your attention. For Head Biotech, Björn Spamberg, founder and research director. So have a nice evening if you're in Norway. And I'm sorry it took actually 1 hour, 1.5 hour this, but still. Okay, then I go to the outro video and yeah. And I will upload this tomorrow. I will edit it and put in some, some jingle stuff and stuff. And yeah, and the speech is in itself is at Medium. And also I would remind that the reason this was very necessary is also that to avoid being accused of being AI boot or anything, because I have learned now that they will do anything to undermine you. They will spread rumors. They will do anything. And that's why I have this, my diplomas there, because they will just say, no, he's not educated. Even though they know it, they just say he's not educated, because then they buy themselves 4 or 5 years before, oh, but he was educated. Okay, but then it went 4 or 5 years. So it's like a war out there, but as long as I'm still alive, I think it's okay. I mean, but so as long as I'm still alive, I'm okay. I mean, I don't care, really. Okay, then I go for the outro and have a pleasant evening.